Hello, everybody. Welcome to our first show, our pilot show, which is The Truth About Addiction and Recovery. I'm Scott Jones, John Giordano to my left. John?
Hi, everybody. Here we are.
This is exciting, isn't it?
Well, you know, it's so important what we're doing. There are a lot of kids dying out there.
Yeah.
And, you know, I used to own G&G Holistic Addiction Treatment Program. We were one of the leaders in the industry.
Yeah.
Because we did evidence-based holistic medicine, not just things that people said work. You know, that's why we did a lot of research at our facility. So I don't know how it happened, but I winded up in 70 medical and scientific journals with over 30 universities. You know, my son almost died from this disease.
Right.
And I said, you know, there's something's missing here. So that's why we're talking about the truth about what's really going on.
Absolutely. Now, you said I don't know how it happened, but you know how it happened because you've always preached this. You've always said this. You know, if you do the right thing, good things will come. And you've always been dedicated to doing the right thing. Even though people around you weren't always doing the right thing, you made sure that when you were working in the industry, you tried to stay in that positive, that ethical lane, didn't you?
Well, you know what it is? It's that, you know, the industry really turned, unfortunately, really bad. And the people that suffer are addicts. And where it turned was, you know, they were paying for clients and doing all kinds of shady things. And, you know, the insurance companies became very crazy, not wanting to pay or not paying enough. And the treatment centers were suffering, and the clients were suffering. It became a nightmare.
Right.
And it's still a nightmare. What's going
in a
on.
lot of cases. It doesn't mean everybody's doing the wrong thing. We don't want to. We're not saying that at all.
No, not at all. There are, but unfortunately, the people that are doing the right thing are getting sucked into the other people that are not doing the right thing.
Right.
And what's happening is everybody's suffering. And even look at what Google did. Google said, "Hey, you're not allowed to advertise anymore." And then after a while, it changed its tune that you have to be certified now to advertise on Google with addiction treatment.
And people need to realize, I mean, when we're talking about the truth, Google was making a lot of money off of these places, and they shut it down. So, you know, they had to be really concerned about what was happening to turn away all that money and say, we're not doing that anymore.
But, you know, we're talking about what's going on with, you know, the history of all this stuff. But what we want it to be, and I believe you and I spoke about it,
yes,
is we want to help people and show them that things they can do that actually, unfortunately, a lot of treatment centers aren't doing at the time.
Right.
Because the insurance companies don't want to pay for it. So a lot of the treatment centers' hands are tied.
That is true.
And I remember I've been doing hyperbaric medicine for almost 15 years. And that's oxygen under pressure that they used to use for the bends, okay, to cure the bends, which is when you dive deep in the ocean and when you come back up, you have nitric oxide in your blood, and you have to actually get that out.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But they found out it does wound healing, and then they found out that actually it helps heal the brain. So, you know, we use it for post-acute withdrawal syndrome, is when people are coming off drugs and alcohol. Their brain is trying to recalibrate. They got damage, and they're not functioning properly. So, and what's really funny, people used to laugh at me, and now the VA is starting to use hyperbaric medicine for us.
Well, let's even go a little beyond that. You know, people laugh about hyperbaric in addiction treatment, sure. But what do you think the sports people have been doing? They have surgery, and one of the reasons they heal, a lot of them do hyperbaric time so they can speed up the healing process, don't they? Like NFL and NBA and all those people.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's good for TBI cases, traumatic brain injury.
Right.
And what a lot of people don't understand about addiction, see, it's not just about psychological. And I hope people really watch what we're doing here, because we're going to be talking about things that are evidence-based, that actually work, that a lot of places aren't doing.
Absolutely. And there's a lot, but there are places that are too, and we want to talk about them. While we're doing our show, we might even talk to some of them. We may have some of them in here to talk to them.
There are some of the places that are doing that, and those are the good places.
Yeah.
You know, first of all, I work with Dr. Kenneth Blum, who's the geneticist who found the addiction gene.
Right.
Now, there is a gene test, and it's not baloney, it's for real. And the gene test will tell you if you're mild, moderate, or severe for addiction.
Okay.
And then it will tell you what you can do to help with that. We have a different amino acids, and I've been in the studies. We have 15 papers on that, on amino acids that Dr. Blum put together that actually help to upregulate dopamine. Now, dopamine is the feel-good drug that actually addicts are chasing. All right, so what we've done is PET scans. We did fMRIs to see what's going on with the brain in real time, and we saw that it upregulated this dopamine naturally. So it helps with cravings. It helps with a lot of different things that addicts really need.
Right. So we're going to be talking a lot about these things during the course of The Truth About Addiction and Recovery. But I think you started out the show and said it quite well. When we're talking about the truth, some people think when you tell the truth, it's always got to be bad news. There is so much good news. There is so much good news about what we know. You were just talking about some of those things. We want to bring those to the front, too. Listen, we could spend all day talking about everything everybody's ever done wrong, right, John? I mean, that's all day.
This show is not about wrong.
We don't want to do that.
This is about what we need to do right.
Because that doesn't get the press sometimes. I mean, if a recovery center gets arrested for patient brokering, they're on the front page of the news. If somebody makes a discovery about the brain and addiction or something, that doesn't make the mainstream news. It's not front page material. You have to go to the scientific journals to find it. We want those things to come out and for people to learn about those things, right?
Well, you see, Scott, what happens is this, working with these scientists for the last 15 years.
Yeah.
And what I found out is this, is that when we make these discoveries, they don't come down the pike for anywhere from 5 to 10 years. So that's why it's not in mainstream quite often.
Now, why is that? You know, people talk about that all the time. And there's even, some people do the conspiracy theory thing where there's a cure for all these different things, but they're holding them back. But we know for a fact in the addiction industry, there's been things that people have found that have been effective, but they do not make mainstream for many, many years. Why is that, John?
Well, I give you one thing. There's a big surge with attention deficit disorder. Okay. Where people are all over the place. They can't focus. They get bored easily. And we're handing them meds. But what they're not looking at is something called heavy metals, heavy metal toxicity, which when you have that, you have an interference in your neurotransmitters. They don't connect properly. And what happens with that is you're all over the place. You can't focus. And when you chelate these things out, which this is what we used to do at our treatment center, all right, all of a sudden, where did the attention deficit go?
Right.
Okay?
Right.
But we got to remember something. Now, we're walking cash registers for the pharmaceutical companies. So they don't want anybody to know a lot about that. They'll find other stuff, the counter that, this doesn't work. Or, yeah. I mean, it's really like kind of crazy out there.
Well, I know the pharmaceuticals, they light up when they hear things like pain management or management of symptomology. They don't light up when they hear cure, because cure is one and done. Or if somebody finds a natural solution or a holistic solution, they don't make anything. They love management, where it's like, you're sick, you have symptoms, we'll manage your symptoms, but we don't want you cured because we don't make any money then.
Well, that's what the show, what we want it to be about.
Right.
We want it to be about, and we're going to go into more detail about each different approach to help people to have a long-lasting recovery. Listen, I'm coming up on 35 years this December in recovery. I didn't think I would have 35 minutes. Okay, to be honest,
I don't think anybody else did either, John.
No, and my journey directed me into all of this because I'm also a martial artist. I've been doing that for 56 years. And as I was very much into the Eastern philosophy of medicine and things of that nature. Only problem is when I was using, I wasn't paying attention to anything I learned.
Right.
And thank God my family did an intervention on me and put me into a treatment center. And I didn't think I had a problem. I thought they had the problem, But when I went in, I had what I call a spiritual awakening, and I really wanted to help people. And that's how I got into this industry. And I only had a 9th grade education. I had to go back to school. I mean, I had a lot of challenges.
Right.
And like most of us do. And what I found out is that there was a big deficit in treatment. they call it a medical model, but we're only treating them psychologically. For instance, people have low thyroid. If you have a low thyroid, you're going to have depression and anxiety and possibly suicidal ideation. Oh, let's give them Prozac. Oh, but wait a second, that doesn't work for that. You have to treat the thyroid with thyroid medication.
Right.
Otherwise, it's not going to work. All right? But addicts and alcoholics, they will gravitate towards a substance or a behavior to medicate those feelings.
Right. Right.
So it's not just psychological. That's a piece of it, but that's not all of it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think when we talk about things holistically, now, unfortunately, the word holistic has gotten used and used and used. People don't even know what it means anymore.
Absolutely.
It's just like everybody says, well, let's slap the word holistic on it. But
that's airy fairy medicine.
Yeah. Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. But holistic, to explain it very basically, is treating the whole person, not just one symptomology.
It's a comprehensive approach
exactly.
to whatever you try doing to treat somebody. That's all. It's not. It's called holism.
Yeah.
I mean, look, people go into treatment, and the standard protocol is to give them a physical. Okay, they do a psychosocial, it's called, a history on what happened to them, what kind of drugs they did, and so forth. And then we throw medicine at them. Because if you don't throw medicine at them, the insurance company don't want to pay. Because they say, well, they're not sick enough.
Right.
I mean, it's some crazy stuff going on. I just heard, which was very disturbing, that detox centers now, if a client is in a detox center and they don't go, they miss 2 groups, that they have to be asked to leave. Now, yeah, I mean,
that doesn't even make any sense, John, because in a detox,
sense.
You're lucky if you make it to 2 groups because you are physically ill.
Not only that, you're lucky if your brain is in your head.
Exactly.
Okay? And what the problem is that we're overregulating now. Okay? Yeah. So what's happening is they're overregulating everything. They go from one extreme to another. We're underregulated, now we're overregulated. And what we're going to talk about on these shows that are coming up, we're going to talk about how to pick a treatment center. There's a lot of good ones out there.
Absolutely.
Okay? What you need to look for, and other alternatives that you can do even if you don't go to treatment. So this is what we want to, I believe this is what we spoke about, what we want to focus on.
We want to help people because you have to have a small understanding of yourself to understand what the best fit for you in treatment is as well, and we want to help you with that. Things that you can look for within yourself. Because, John, like you said, you lost track of all the things you cared about at the end of your addiction. The Eastern philosophy and all the things that were part of your life had kind of floated away. So reconnecting with that enough so you can figure out where you need to be is an important part of the process as well. Not everybody fits in the same square peg.
No, I became an inhuman human, and that's what I believe addicts become. Okay, we no longer, believe in God because who's going to talk to a God of your understanding when you're doing the things you're doing that are not really cool.
Right.
You're hurting yourself, you're hurting your family, you're hurting your children. You're not a productive member of society in any kind of form. You turn into criminality, and I did all kinds of crazy stuff, selling drugs and doing collection work for the smugglers, and I got a whole story of that, and it really took me down a dark path. And today, I never forget it. I was at a meeting, and a guy says, early in recovery, the guy says, "Oh, I'm a grateful recovering addict." And I looked at him, I said, "This guy's an idiot. How could you say you're a grateful recovering addict?"
Right.
Well, one day later on, I said, "I'm a grateful recovering addict because I truly understood now. I understand now what that meant. I have a life that's unbelievable. Mm-hmm. I have my soul back." And what's the guy that walked into, I was raised a Catholic, which I used to curse at God, because I blame God for everything. As addicts, we blame everybody else, but instead of looking at ourselves.
Right.
And here I am, I'm a chaplain for the North Miami Police Department. I mean, my father must be rolling over in his grave. He was a heroin dealer.
Who would have thought you would end up a chaplain for the police department?
Oh, listen.
Are you kidding me?
Let me tell you. And that's why I came out of retirement, because I wrote this book. It's called How to Beat Your Addictions, not addiction, and live a quality life.
Yeah.
And how I wrote the book was, I said, what's the best way to write a book like this? And I said, look, I could talk about my own experience, but not everybody's, like you said earlier, not everybody's the same.
Right.
So what I did was I interviewed 200 addicts and alcoholics over the years, because it took about 3-4 years to write the book. And what was really interesting was I wanted to know what they did or what they didn't do. Okay?
Right.
Not just they quit drugs and alcohol. But I know people are going to not understand this, but quitting drugs and alcohol is the easy part. Learning how to deal with life on life's terms is what we have a difficult time with. Once you stop drugs and alcohol, now you're on that road to dealing with life, which becomes very complicated. We don't understand our emotions anymore.
Right.
We want to run away from them. So what I did was I put all the stuff that they did into the book. Then I says, well, I have to go to the other side of the fence, and I interviewed addicts and alcoholics that were chronic relapses, that kept on relapsing, going to treatment, coming out, relapsing, and going to self-help groups, relapsing. Okay, I wanted to know what they did and what they didn't do. And I put that into the book. And then I got testimonials and all kinds of other things in the book, and a lot of the research that people can look at. I think there's about 50 papers in there about gene testing and about the gut, about all these different, different things that cause addiction or probable causes for us going to these drugs. And that's how I wrote the book.
Yeah.
So, it's on Amazon.
It's How to Beat Your Addiction and Live a Quality Life, written by John Giordano here. And one of the things I like about this, because I was around when you first had this come out, is when we were first working together. There is a combination of things in here that is written in a way that you can go in and just take a small piece of the book and read it for that day or read it for that moment, and it's a complete section. So whether it's about cravings or anger or something like that, there's pieces in there that you could read about. It's written in a way that makes a lot of sense to addicts. It's not all technological. It's not all scientific. It's about real world stuff, right?
Right. Well, you know what it is. Addicts don't like to read. Well, a lot of people don't like to read.
Yeah, a lot of people.
And what I did was I put it in small little paragraphs, and I put headings. So you can go to the book, the index, and look at what kind of heading, what do I do about sex addiction? How about I have an eating disorder, or
gambling.
I'm bored.
Yeah.
I have urges to gamble. So there's all kinds of things in there to help people to start to get a grasp on what they can do and why they feel the way they feel.
Right.
And it just speaks on just a real simple level to everyday people. I'm an inner city kid. I'm a street kid, and I'm not this uptown kid. And I wrote it in a way that anybody from any level can read this. Mm-hmm. And my goal is to save these kids. I just went to a funeral yesterday. Broke my heart. One of my clients that finally got clean, coming to me. He was 6 months clean, but I kept on telling him, stop smoking cigarettes, man. You're going to die. Okay, you got a bad heart because you got a heart problem.
Right.
And the last frontier, he didn't want to quit the cigarettes. Oh, this is better than me shooting heroin. I said, no. Okay, it's just a different path to dying.
Yeah.
So he fell in the parking lot and had a heart attack and died. 47 years old. I mean, I've had kids die in my arms.
Yeah.
I've been to so many funerals. Listen, it's not about just quitting drugs and alcohol. It's about aftercare. That's why I have my aftercare program, which is a wellness center. And they go 3 times a week, and I teach them about nutrition. I teach them about exercise, how exercise gets rid of stress. I teach them about, we do group, we go individual therapy, trauma work.
Yeah.
We do everything. Things that they don't normally do in treatment because I don't have to rely on insurance because I don't take insurance.
Okay.
And it's very, very inexpensive.
Well, let me ask you something. I mean, we've got so many things we're going to be covering on this show. Well, the first thing, before I ask you this, I want to let people know, if you want to ask John any questions directly, You can call him if you want to talk to him about treatment options. If you have somebody who maybe has gone through treatment and is struggling, that's where your specialization is right now, is in the aftercare, because the aftercare is more important than the treatment.
Absolutely.
Because if you don't have something, a support system or something to guide you as you start to re-enter life, you're in trouble.
Yeah, dealing with boredom, dealing with loneliness, dealing with career changes, dealing with getting a job, dealing with all
relationships, everything.
issues.
Yes, absolutely. And if you don't have somebody working with you through that, it's really easy for everything you learned in treatment to go by the wayside as you're struggling. So that aftercare keeps things fresh, it keeps things current, and it puts it into their real life situations.
Well, you can't be a 30-day wonder. That doesn't work very well, number one.
I've seen... It's so rare. 1 out of 1,000 maybe we see do those things.
That's right.
I wish the numbers were better. I wish it was 30 days, John. I wish we could say 30 days, boom, you go off on your own and everybody's fine. I'd like us all to be out of business, is the truth.
Well,
but that's not going to happen.
Well, the thing is this, there's a lot of research on 90 days to 120 days, depending on the severity of the illness, is what's really optimum. But the treatment center's hands are tied. And
by the insurance
companies want to just shove us right out of the insurance so they don't have to pay.
Yeah.
And we're getting minimal treatment.
So
Excuse me.
We work on those things. If you want to talk to John more about his aftercare program, you want to talk to him about his book or anything, John invites you to give him a direct call at 786-271-5732. Again, 786-271-5732. I'd also like to invite you, if you would like to be on The Truth About Addiction and Recovery, or you have an idea for a podcast that you would like to do, we work here very closely with Broadcast Beat Studios. We work with other podcasts, including Live Out Loud podcast and others. Give me a call at 833-LOL-LIVE, 833-LOL-LIVE, if you would like to be a part of this show or start a show of your own. We're here to help you do that. So both of those things, and remember to check out broadcastbeatstudios.com to see the great things that they have right here. Beautiful studio, right, John?
Man, let me tell you something. This place is incredible, and it's going to help a lot of people, this show, and shows like it. Absolutely.
So if you want to be a part of our show or start your own, check us out. Again, give me a call, 833-LOL-LIVE, or go to Broadcast Beat Studios and check out the studio. And I also want to add in that we're also being sponsored by Addiction Training Center. Addiction Training Center is something that we're involved in, where it is all about educating, training. It is a way to approach the person who is suffering from addiction, alcoholism, or other types of addictions, and teach people both intervention skills, communication skills, and education into how they can best help the people in their families, their workplaces, and their communities. That's what ATC is all about, and they're supporting us as well.
Well, that's one of the main thrust also about ATC is that we want to also, everything is about the addict. What about the family? My kids are in recovery, and it's frightening. You don't want your kid to die before you do. And what we're doing is we're helping people to understand how to deal with their loved one, which is paramount, because you can really help them and yourself.
Absolutely. Addiction Training Center has courses that are available for you. They also have information. If you go to addictiontrainingcenter.com, all the information is right there. Now, with us, with The Truth About Addiction and Recovery, John, we're going to be talking a lot about things. It's not always going to be a popular thing to talk about. Even talking about the positive things sometimes aren't real popular because not everybody's doing it. And when somebody isn't doing the right thing, they like to shoot the right thing down, don't they?
Well, you know what it is? It's really interesting. Most people would really like to do the right thing. I think a lot of treatment centers that are good treatment centers really want to do it, but everything is coming at them from so many different ways today, and insurance companies are holding up payments, and they're doing audits for really no reason.
Yeah.
Some of it, so they're locking up people's cash flow, and what they're doing is they're forcing treatment centers to not do as much treatment as they possibly can, and doing alternative treatments because they can't get paid. So, it's also a business, but it's also a place to help people. But, you have to be realistic. You can't just help people, because you'll be out of business. You're helping no one.
John, this is extremely frustrating. This is insane. It makes me angry sometimes. I get angry sometimes when I see the things that are going on. Why do we even do this? Now, I got my own personal reasons, and I know why I continue to do this. I've got my own recovery, just like you. I've been around for a long time. I've got my daughter that I care about greatly who's in recovery, and I've got other family members. And I feel that if I walk away and if I don't do it, who will? If I don't stay in the industry somehow, if I don't fight for addicts' rights, if I don't fight for a better understanding, if I don't fight to heal our communities, if I walk away and say it's too hard, then who else is going to do it? Why do you do it?
Well, why do I do it?
I mean, you could retire right now if you wanted to, John.
Yeah, well, I am retired. Well, I'm not retired.
You're the busiest retired guy I ever met, all right?
Right. I go out there and I'm lecturing, I'm writing another book. I'm doing all kinds of stuff.
Why do you do it?
I believe God helped me where I couldn't help myself, a God of my understanding.
Okay.
I'm not about religion. I'm about spirituality. Be kind instead of right. Help those less fortunate than you, and things like that. And what I decided to do, that God gave me a lot of gifts, and I do my best to utilize those gifts and to help other human beings to help themselves. You see, I learned something doing treatment all these years. I mean, I've been doing treatment for about 34 years, 33 and a half years, helping thousands of people. And it's not just the addict we help. It's the whole family, because the whole family's suffering. It's not just the addict. The sisters, the brothers, the mothers, the sons, the daughters. I mean, it's really pervasive. And I want to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. I want to look at that we're coming down the pike. There's good stuff coming down and not such good stuff coming down the pike. And I want to be on the side of the good stuff.
You get personally, what does that do for you and your family to be a part of all of this? Even though it's not always easy, it's not the easiest path.
It's a very painful path. I'll be honest with you. I watch people die that I get close to, and I really care about my clients.
Yeah.
And, their family, as far as I'm concerned. Somebody helped me when I couldn't help myself. And it's about, addicts were selfish and self-centered, but when you get into recovery, you learn about giving back. And one addict helping another is paramount.
Yes.
Because we understand what they're going through. And being a parent of an addict, of addicts, I understand what parents are going through. So that's why I opened up this little wellness center, I call it, because I help the parents and the family members to get through this. Because most often the time, they're left on the outside.
Right.
And everybody's focused on the addict. Okay, well, some of these parents are addicted to the addict. And they wind up enabling them and being codependent, and they're loving their addict to death.
Yes. Yeah.
So, that's why I do this.
So in our future episodes, we're going to be talking about things like, certainly we're going to make sure that everybody has a full understanding about the continuum of care and the different levels of treatment that are available out there. We're going to make sure people understand how to look for treatment centers and what to look for. What are some warning signs, and what are some signs that you should be looking for, and what are some things that you should demand as this should be at a treatment center. We're going to talk to different treatment centers. We're going to talk to people in recovery. We're going to talk about the importance of the aftercare, the importance of follow-up, and the importance of staying connected to your past, your present, and your future, and being present in your own life. There's so many things we want to talk about on The Truth About Recovery. Again, John, it's not always going to be a popular opinion. Some people are probably going to hear this and say, they're just trying to beat me down. Well, we're not out to do that at all. We just want people to know the truth, right?
Well, this is the story is this. This is, recovery is not a diet, it's a life change.
Exactly.
And that's how you got to look at it. Diets don't work. Right? Believe me, I know. I tried a bunch of them.
I know. I had a donut right before the show. Thanks a lot. Now I feel terrible. But no, you're right. You're right. It is an entire lifestyle change. Because you think about it, in an addict's life, what part of their life is not affected by the drug?
Well, you see, that's what we're going to talk about also, because what we do is we we also destroy this body that we were allowed to have.
Yes.
Okay. And what people don't realize is it's the drugs and the alcohol and the lifestyle wreaks havoc on our body. We wouldn't even treat our car like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And the bottom line is people would fix their car faster than they want to fix themselves. And, what happens is part of the psychological part is to help people to get their hope back.
Yes.
And their faith back. And it's so hard because you keep on failing. But what I tell addicts, there are no failures. There are only lessons.
Yes.
And you learn from your lessons. That's why you get history in school, so we can learn from our lessons.
Absolutely. And I love what you said. They'll fix their car. We're down here in southern Florida, and I know the rest of the country this time of year, you're all starting to get cold and it's snowing, and too bad. We're happy. It's really comfortable right now. But down here in Florida, people are out every day. They're out there and they're checking the chemistry in their pool, aren't they, John? They're checking the balance of the chemistry.
Everything
is
but
the chlorine
themselves.
right? They're doing all of this stuff, and they got a line of Coke on the table, pack of cigarettes in their pocket, a beer in their hand, a bratwurst on. No, they don't care about their own chemistry. They want their pool crystal clear, but what is all the garbage floating around inside of them? We want to teach people about that.
Well, look, I'm 73 years old. I just competed in a karate tournament last year at 72. I don't take any medications whatsoever. And everything I show the addicts to, I do. See, I learned one thing. Listen, do as I say, not as I do. Never work for anybody, number one.
Right.
Okay? So what I decided to do is I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I eat fairly well. I don't eat perfect. I'm not perfect for sure. I go through my challenges just like anyone else. And the bottom line is I have a support team. So everything that I tell other people to do, I do myself. And anybody that knows me knows that's what I do.
And that's why it's so easy for you to sit with me today and as we move forward and talk about the truth, because you don't have to hide anything about yourself.
No, I'm just a struggling addict just like anybody else. I have my own challenges.
Right.
And my own things that I have. And I go to therapy myself. I have a therapist. I have a sponsor. I go to meetings, and I work what is called the steps. And I give back to the community.
Right.
Perfect, I'm not. Sometimes I get a little wacky, but that's just me.
A lot wacky, but that's okay.
I'm called a human being.
Yeah, a human being?
Yeah, being. Not a being, but a being.
So we've got so many things that we want to bring to you guys. We'll be inviting you into our Facebook page and our web pages. We'll have places. We want to invite your comments and your suggestions. We'll be setting up the emails and the hotlines and text.
Yeah, eventually we're going to have a call-in.
Yeah, we're going to have a call-ins on live shows. All of that stuff is coming up. Right now, we just want to kind of give you a little introduction into the truth about addiction and recovery. Want you to know a little bit about John and myself, and let you know we're going to be coming back to you very soon. We've got a lot that we want to say, and it's not just us. These are things that people are out there are talking about. We need everybody to understand what the truth is. That's all.
I just want everybody to know this is not just opinions. This is I work with facts and evidence. Okay, so whatever I say, I don't want you to believe a word I tell you. Go look it up yourself.
That's right. The only opinion I'm going to give you is this is going to be a damn good show, and John's a good guy.
So is Scott.
All right, so thanks for watching The Truth About Addiction and Recovery. For Scott, John, we'll catch you next time.
That's right. Adios.